Shark Week 2023 is here, and so in light of this special yearly event, I've decided to compile a number of the most notable real-life shark attack incidents covered on the channel thus far. These stories include the first ever reported dual great white shark attack that saw a young surfer in South Africa get attacked by not one, but two great white sharks in an unprecedented encounter, the true story of a surfer who was fatally attacked by a massive great white off the coast of Western Australia, the horrifying account of a man who was bitten 5 times by a mako shark, and much more. You're watching Shark Week 2023's most brutal shark attacks. In the heart of the Eastern Cape Province, along the rugged coastline of South Africa, lies the renowned surfing spot of Nahoon Reef. It was here, on a seemingly ordinary Sunday in July of 2000, that Shannon Ainslie, a 15-year-old South African boy, had been riding the waves with his brother Brandon and several friends when not one but two great white sharks simultaneously attacked him. This is the true story of Shannon Ainslie's unprecedented double great white shark attack. On July 16th of that fateful year, Ainslie, an avid surfer, found himself at Nahoon Reef.
Nahoon Reef is definitely famous for its sharks and shark attacks. I was so scared of Nahoon Reef, and everyone would always say their prayers before they surfed and say, "Hey God, please keep us safe today."
The reef is a popular surfing spot in East London, South Africa, known for its consistent waves and beautiful scenery. It's a place where locals and tourists alike come to enjoy the thrill of riding the Indian Ocean swells. Surfers dotted the horizon, their silhouettes against the morning sun, creating a picturesque scene. He was there with his brother and 8 more of his friends, including himself, all of which were eager to take advantage of the excellent surfing conditions. The day was during the annual sardine run, a natural phenomenon that sees billions of sardines spawn into the cool waters of the Agulhas Bank and move northward along the east coast of South Africa. And unsurprisingly, this particular event attracts a wide array of predators, including dolphins, seabirds, and of course, sharks. Despite the potential danger, Ainslie and his companions were undeterred. They were there to surf, to feel that familiar rush of adrenaline as they rode the waves, and to experience the freedom and the exhilaration that only surfing can provide. As Ainslie rode the waves, he was in his element, the cool water beneath his board, the taste of salt on his lips, and the rhythmic sounds of the waves crashing against the shore. A sensory symphony that only a surfer truly understands. His eyes would then be drawn to the beauty of the ocean, its vastness stretching out to the horizon.
I think I had been surfing for about an hour or hour and a half.
He was completely immersed in the moment, his mind and body in perfect sync with the rhythms of the sea. Suddenly, without any warning, 2 great white sharks, each estimated to be approximately 13 feet long, emerged from the depths. One of them aimed directly for Ainslie's head, and the other for his torso, their powerful bodies propelling him through the water with tremendous force.
2 sharks came for me, and the shark on the right was going for my head and my shoulders, but it missed me, fortunately, because the shark on the left got me first.
And in a split second, what once was a tranquil scene was shattered as Ainslie was tossed in the air, the force of the attack sending shockwaves through the water. It's important to note that unbeknownst to Ainslie and his friends, a Canadian backpacker named Sean Smith had been videotaping the surfers from the shore. His camera captured the chilling moment as one shark bit into Ainslie's board, dragging it under the water. And the footage also clearly shows the second shark silhouetted in a breaking wave to the right of the surfboard, its fin visible above the water surface. And just as Ainslie was thrown from his board by the first shark, the second shark moved away. Due to the restrictive nature of this platform, I'm unable to share the footage here. However, for those interested in viewing it, I'll be uploading the video to my Rumble account and Patreon page within 24 hours of this post. The suddenness of the attack left Ainslie in a state of shock. One moment he was riding a wave, and in the next a life or death struggle with not one, but 2 of the ocean's most fearsome predators.
I remember just staring at the shark face to face with his mouth wide open, and I could see his one eye staring right into my face, and I could see all of his teeth. The fears and the thoughts and the emotions I was going through were just indescribable. I was 15 years old. I wanted to surf, and yeah, these sharks just attacked me, and I'm about to die.
White sharks, while known to occasionally exhibit group behavior, are not typically known to launch coordinated attacks on humans like this. They're widely considered solitary animals for the most part, roaming the oceans alone and covering vast distances in search of food. However, they have at times also been observed gathering in groups in certain situations, such as feeding on a large carcass during mating season or at specific locations known as shark cafes, where food is abundant. And it's important to note that these gatherings are much more about convenience and opportunity rather than a coordinated group effort, as great whites of course are not known to be social animals.
And then the shark swam past me to my right and around me and then bumped me from behind and just shoved me forward. So I swam to my board, and as I did that, I saw my fingers hanging off my hand and blood just squirting and rushing out of my hand and fingers.
At this point, the sharks, whose bodies were streamlined for efficient hunting, began circling a horrified Ainslie, their eyes devoid of any emotion and their intent clear.
No one stayed in the water to help me out. Everyone just bailed and left me in the water all to myself. And I was looking to my right and to my left all the time, waiting for these sharks to come back for me any second. I prayed and said, hey, Jesus, please, I need some help here. Please help me out. And all of a sudden, this wave came out of nowhere, and all my fear just disappeared.
Gathering as much courage and energy as he could, a shocked Ainslie would then manage to paddle back to shore. It was only once he was ashore that he realized the extent of his injuries. Seeing blood dripping from his hand like a water faucet, the reality of the situation began to sink in. His companions would then quickly apply a tourniquet to his arm using his leg rope and rushed Ainslie to the hospital where he underwent emergency surgery. Ainslie's right wrist was broken and he sustained multiple lacerations to his hand. The most severe damage was to his middle finger. Lacerations extended to the bone, and his surfboard was also damaged by the sharks. Despite the traumatic experience, Ainslie did not let the incident deter his passion for surfing. Instead, it deepened his love for the sport and the ocean. He would go on to become a surf coach in Norway, inspiring others with his story of survival and resilience. And just recently, in 2022, Ainslie released his biography, Child of the Wild Coast, the story of Shannon Ainslie, dual great white shark attack survivor, a book in which he would detail his life-changing encounter with the sharks in his own words. Until this day, Ainslie continues to embrace the ocean not with fear, but with a deeper understanding, respect, and appreciation of its inhabitants.
First tonight, there's been another deadly shark attack off a West Australian beach.
On the morning of July 14th, 2012, longtime friends and avid surfers Benjamin Linden and Ryan James Solis found themselves gearing up for another adventure at a popular surf spot located just south of Western Australia's Wedge Island. As the warm Australian sun cast its glow upon the azure waves, the conditions were ideal for yet another memorable surf. Little did the pair realize, however, that a massive shark had other plans in mind. This is the horrifying true story of Benjamin Linden's fatal encounter with one of our ocean's most formidable predators. Born in Subiaco, Australia on January 15th of 1988, Benjamin Charles Linden was a man full of dreams and ambition. Living in Osborne Park with his partner Alana Julie Noakes, the young couple would go on to buy a house and start a family. Known for his warm smile and friendly nature, Linden was said to have greeted familiar faces with a genuine enthusiasm that radiated from within. He was not only an accomplished surfer, but also a talented musician and a skilled cabinet maker. His creativity flowed effortlessly between the waves and his craft, leaving an indelible mark on the lives of those who knew him. Linden's main occupation as a subterranean surveyor and his passion for surfing kept him in above-average physical fitness, and this would aid him in overcoming asthma problems he'd suffered early in his childhood, allowing him to no longer need to depend on the occasional use of an inhaler. His career, of course, went hand in hand with his love for the seas, allowing him to not only explore their hidden depths, but also enhancing his deep personal connection to them. On that fateful Saturday morning in July of 2012, Linden and Solis embarked on their journey from the Perth metropolitan area to a remote beach near Wedge Island. The destination was a spot known as Dolphins to locals, or formerly Diddy Bay, and was tucked away behind the boundary gate of the Lancelin Defense Training Area. The seasoned surfers were familiar with the early morning routine, making the many times long drives to seek favorable surfing conditions, much like they had done on numerous previous occasions. After negotiating the 500-meter distance from their parking spot to the beach, they would finally settle around 150 meters north of 3 other beachgoers. There was a harmony to their movements as they took to the water, enjoying their camaraderie and thrill of surfing, each absorbed in the rhythm of the ocean. After approximately half an hour, the friends relocated another 100 meters north, seeking better surf. Not far from them, two men, Holmes and Nathan Andrew Smith, were utilizing a jet ski to aid their own surfing endeavors. Another 20 minutes of tranquil surfing passed by when suddenly, Solis felt a chilling presence near him. He would spot a large shadow circling beneath him, the unmistakable form of a great white shark looming ominously. The shark's proximity was so close, in fact, that Solis could feel the spray from its gills. Fear gripped them both as they realized the immediate danger they were in. Desperate to escape, they then began to paddle for shore. It was at this point that suddenly the shark would then lunge towards Linden, who attempted to fend it off by kicking at it. This was when, to his severe misfortune, the massive shark clamped onto him with its mighty jaws, inflicting severe damage to his lower body. Solis, propelled towards the shore by a small wave, watched as the shark circled Linden's motionless body. Holmes, who had witnessed the horrific scene unfold, raced back to shore to drop off Smith before heading back to assist Linden. As he rushed back to him, he noticed Linden floating face down in the water, with one leg missing and part of the other also gone. Like a scene straight out of a horror movie, the great white then reappeared once again, putting a barrier between Linden and Holmes' jet ski, thwarting his rescue attempt. Holmes would then helplessly watch as the shark once again seized Linden's body and swam towards the shore, and a few minutes later, Holmes would watch in horror as Linden's body was nowhere to be found in the shark's mouth as it swam right by him and back out to sea. Holmes and Solis, united in their desperation, began scouring the waters for any sign of Linden. However, despite intense searches, all they would find is a surfboard with a bite taken out of it by the shark. Emergency services were promptly alerted, and a search was conducted across land, sea, and air. However, despite their thorough efforts, no traces of Linden were found. The bite mark on Linden's surfboard was later examined by Dr. Rory Macaulay, a senior research assistant with the Department of Fisheries, and his conclusion was sobering. The bite mark had indeed been made by a great white shark, just as Holmes and Solis had reported, and it measured approximately 3.5 to 4 meters in length. Following the incident, beaches were closed by police who continued their search for Linden's remains, and the Department of Fisheries would discontinue their search for the suspect shark, as the shark managed to effectively elude them behind the vast expanse of the ocean.
We've sent some shark capture gear up, and the order's been given for us to attempt to catch a shark if we're able to.
In the tight-knit coastal community, whispers of an impending tragedy had been circulating for days. In fact, local resident Paul Burke couldn't shake off the ominous sense of dread as he listened to reports of a looming danger lurking beneath the waves.
By the time I got out there, half of him had been taken, and the shark was circling, and the local surfers, they've been keeping a watchful eye on a particular shark that's earned itself a fearsome reputation. They've dubbed it Brutus, an apt name for a predator with a gut the size of a 44-gallon drum.
Burke's words echoed the collective unease that had settled upon the community, especially after the attack on Linden. In the wake of the tragedy, those who knew Linden were left to reconcile with the loss of a man who loved life and the ocean. His passion for surfing was well known, and his death, as a result of a shark attack, would go on to shake the local surfing community to its core.
They're a menace. They really are. They're just, and this is not going to be the last fatality. There's going to be more and more and more every year.
While its death was ultimately ruled as misadventure, it served as a stark reminder of the power and unpredictability of nature, even to those most familiar with its rhythms. Despite his tragic demise, Benjamin Charles Linden's legacy lives on, not only in the memories of his partner Elena and his friends, but also in the broader surfing community that mourned his loss.
Just come out of the water and just, it was like it was eating a seal, just threw its body out of the water for this guy. There was just blood everywhere, and the shark came at me on the jet ski and tried to knock me off. I did another loop, and when I came back to the body, the shark took it.
I got straight back in the water, and I'm still surfing now, but it's not the same, unfortunately. Unfortunately for myself, I don't think I'll ever get the true enjoyment of surfing back.
In the heart of the Sinai Peninsula, nestled between the arms of the Red Sea, lies the coastal town of Marsa Bereka. It was here, on a seemingly ordinary Tuesday in July of 1996, that an extraordinary encounter would unfold. Martin Christopher Richardson, a 29-year-old American-British man, had been enjoying a swim in the famous waters of the Red Sea with some friends on what was intended to be a day filled with fun and adventure. Little did he realize, however, that he was just minutes away from a deadly encounter with one of the ocean's most formidable predators. the mako shark. On July 23rd of that fateful year, Richardson, an avid swimmer and adventurer, found himself aboard the Jadran, a 24-meter-long dive boat that had a reputation for being as sturdy as it was reliable. The boat, a proud possession of Danny Herman of Eilat, Israel, was cutting through the glorious waters of the Red Sea, sailing north from Ras Mohammed to the picturesque Sharm el-Sheikh Bay. The day was ripe with promise, the sea calm and inviting, and the sun casting a warm glow on the deck. As the boat made its journey, the crew's eyes were drawn to a pod of 5 bottlenose dolphins, their sleek bodies gliding playfully through the water. The boat slowed, the engines humming down to a gentle purr. The crew, captivated by the allure of the highly intelligent marine mammals, would stop the boat to allow the guests a chance to swim with the dolphins. It was a rare once-in-a-lifetime sort of opportunity for them to interact with these magnificent creatures in their natural habitat, one that few have had the privilege of experiencing. Martin, Danny, and Harry Hayward, an English dive instructor with a spirit as adventurous as the sea itself, did not hesitate to seize the moment. The trio excitedly slipped into the water and proceeded to enjoy a swim with the dolphins, their laughter and exhilaration echoing over the water. Seemingly welcoming their new human companions with open fins, an orchestra of clicks and whistles would then follow, filling the air in what was a moment of oneness between creatures of land and sea. After a time, Danny and Harry would return to the boat, their hearts full and their spirits invigorated. But Martin, ever the adventurer, was so mesmerized by his newfound friends that he'd choose to stay, a decision he'd come to regret. Suddenly, just as soon as they'd appeared, the dolphins would then disappear, leaving a confused Martin alone in the water. It was precisely at this point that he would abruptly spot a mako shark approaching him from within the depths. Isurus oxyrhynchus, commonly known as the short-fin mako, is a fascinating creature in the marine world. Its streamlined body, characterized by a pointed snout, triangular dorsal fin, and a sizable crescent-shaped tail fin, enables it to achieve burst swimming speeds of up to 43 miles or 70 kilometers per hour, earning it the title of the fastest shark in the world. The mighty mako would then proceed to repeatedly chomp at Martin with a terrifying efficiency. It would bite him a total of 4 times, each instance inflicting severe wounds to various regions of his body. Martin was overwhelmed with fear and a feeling of helplessness as the shark circled him with its menacing presence. He was stuck in the middle of the vast ocean, a fair swim from the safety of the boat, while a relentless predator focused on him, eager to make him its next prey. In a desperate attempt to fend it off, Martin would then punch the shark in the snout upon its next approach, an action often recommended by shark experts as a last resort during a close encounter. The shark would hardly be deterred by this, and despite his efforts continued to circle a horrified Martin. Reality quickly began to sink in for Martin as he put things in perspective, realizing that he was not just being circled by a shark in the middle of the ocean, but bleeding from multiple wounds. With his life hanging in the balance, the helpless swimmer then stiffly bobbed along the water's surface, trying to attract as little attention as possible, knowing very well that even the slightest hint of panic movements could easily mimic the vibrations of a wounded animal, a well-known shark attractant. For Martin, each passing second at this point was a battle for survival. Meanwhile, the crew aboard the boat heard Martin scream and would watch in horror as the shark launched him 1 to 1.5 meters in the air. It was at this point that English dive instructor Harry Hayward, despite the risks, without hesitation immediately jumped into a Zodiac, a type of inflatable boat, and sped toward Martin. As he approached, he saw an unexpected sight. 3 dolphins were circling him, slapping their flukes and fins on the water's surface. This behavior, often seen in dolphins when they're trying to deter predators, suggested to Hayward that they were attempting to protect Martin. Dolphins are known for their intelligence and complex social behaviors, and there have been numerous accounts of dolphins protecting other animals and even humans from threats. A prime example of this was an incident that occurred in 2004 when a group of swimmers off the coast of New Zealand were reportedly protected in a very similar fashion by a pod of dolphins that formed a defense ring around them for over 40 minutes, seemingly warding off a potential attack from a great white. Despite the ongoing threat of the shark, the presence of the dolphins gave a determined Hayward the confidence to reach for Martin, lift him into the Zodiac, and return to the dive boat. Back on the Jardran, the rest of the crew was ready to provide immediate first aid. Danny and his father Itzik, along with Danny's fiancée Gail Ashworth, worked together to control Martin's bleeding. Upon reaching Sharm el-Sheikh, a local diving doctor, Dr. Magdi, was quick to respond. He initiated IV fluids and ensured that Martin was transported to an Egyptian army hospital in Al Tor for further treatment. Martin was bitten on his back, his shoulder, and his chest. The shark's teeth had punctured Martin's lung, causing a pneumothorax, and the force of the attack was such that it not only caused deep lacerations in multiple sections of his body, but also broke one of his ribs. a grim testament to a mako's raw power. Doctors would go on to conclude that a single shark was responsible for the grievous injuries, and it was estimated to be between 4 to 5 meters in length, judging by the size of the bite marks on Martin's body. And the role of the dolphins, those unexpected guardians of the sea, has been a point of much discussion and speculation. Some experts suggest that the dolphins, who'd been spotted with the calf by the crew of the Jardran during their swim, had sensed the shark was approaching, causing them to swim away in an attempt to protect it, whereas others theorize that they were drawn to the scene by the cloud of blood and inadvertently scared off the shark with their presence by creating a kind of protective barrier around Martin. Martin Richardson went on to survive his horrific ordeal, and to this day firmly believes that the dolphins are the reason he's still alive. His story went on to spark wide discussions about marine conservation, the behavior and interactions between sharks and dolphins, and the safety of water activities in areas known for their marine biodiversity.